Hey, good morning. It's December 4th. I've just come from Rotary. We're raising a bunch of money for um, the holiday gift baskets. And as I sit here in the vehicle getting ready to um, head back and join some work calls, I just thought I'd share that the process by which we're building the AI GovOps website, and as you recall, the AI GovOps website is a community that helps ship AI projects around the world for the good of humanity. And so, pretty important, I think. I think AI for good matters. So, Ken and I and others have been working on this for many years, but we're building the website. What I'd like to point out, and by the way, this isn't to complain, this is just to share the process that we've discovered that makes this sort of um, challenging is I'm a big fan, as you know, of Replit. And I've been using Replit to build a pretty cool prototype. And I'm not going to go through the entire prototype here this morning, but I just want to show you that it does, from a prototype or product point of view, and remember that from a previous video we talked about, we use ChatPRD, we use Perplexity Pro, uh, we used OpenAI, we used Gemini to do product definition, right? So this is how we got to where practitioners, academics, policymakers collaborate to ship safe, compliant, generative AI products. So get expert guidance, knowledge, stay ahead of the regulation. So Ken and I have co-founded a 501c3 foundation to make any proceeds after we cover our costs to support AI for humanity. So retraining, all sorts of sort of the academic conferences and these sorts of things because we think it's good to do good in the world. Now the challenge is that the design of this site is very much how I want it to work, to be multilingual, to be in the top 10 languages of business in the world, to update our events, academic papers, make sure we have members, have a paper of the day. I'm a big fan of the paper of the day. Some folks were down in San Diego this week at a conference looking at all the newest papers. High risk governance. So when AI can kill, when AI does bad things, and of course, AI doesn't do anything, humans do those things. Looking at AI regulations, I particularly think this is a great tracker. Look at the influences around the world. These are some friends and some folks that I follow that have more than 100,000 followers and are in the topic of AI governance. Maturity models. And I hate maturity models and I love maturity models because, it can be sort of a test of an intelligence test, but particularly when you start looking at all the different ways to think about governance and safety and non-toxicity and all of those things. Insight Hub, this again might actually be sort of replicative of spaces or messages. The governance sandbox, this is a classifier. These are snippets of code that we plan to share to help you do scoring and classifying of things that we'd expect to see. Knowledge broadcasts, where we put the podcasts and other videos, the presentations. Now, the most fun we've had is all of the work with agents. And what's interesting about agents is we have a lot of agents defined, right? And the idea would be that we'd use those agents to manage the community, content, events, growth hacking, support, research, revenue, platform. We also have workflows, and these workflows are pretty well defined. We can actually show the activities of the workflows. We can look at the agent logs. We have the DevOps control deck. I think, by the way, this is maybe my most fun one. Of course, Ken and I have spent many years together at Microsoft running very large, hundreds of millions, billions of view kinds of systems. System status, which isn't terribly different from the control deck, although DevOps controls what we do. The system status tells us how we're doing, right? Uptime, performance, those kinds of things. Uh, we looked at AI costs, sort of the token costs, kind of traditional user management. Who are the members, guests, administrators, moderators? How We Built This. I'd like that NPR show, How We Built This. I think that's a great podcast. And then we looked at each stop in the workflow documentation. So everything we did from the beginning, we looked at how we built the feature, how we did the prompt, how each of these things relate to each other. What's the architecture? What's the as-built? The front end? What's the back end? And I really like this particular way because as we're building the community to show you how we did things, it's important to know how did we build the community, right? Um, then we talked about what are our mission and our values, innovation, and then some settings for each user. Now, the hard part of this is that Replit is expensive. So this cost about $450 to build over the last 10 days or so. And by the way, Replit had a Black Friday week, so I was able to use the advanced models for like half price, which is cool. But then we said, how do we take this prototype and turn it into a production site? The good news is it was actually pretty easy to do with Lovable. We took the core specs, we exported some of the work from Replit, we exported some of the work from the Chat PRD, and then we said, how do we rebuild the site in a way that maybe is a little bit more, affordable? Because again, so far this is just an act of love from a few of us, and so we built the whole site here. I'm going to go ahead and log in and just show you the structure. One of the challenges, frankly, is we have all of these sort of features. We also added, by the way, a pretty cool voice assistant here. I really like the way Lovable deals with AI. We also we actually have a nice chat assistant here, so I can say, tell me about AI GovOps. So the chat assistant is working. And generally, by the way, we're using OpenAPI, OpenAI, and it talks about what are our goals and what are our governance. And so it's a good RAG model. We like it. We did implement a lot of the features like the voice platform, the model registry. We added some risk assessment, policy tracking, training. The problem is keeping this up to date and really making it useful without making it sort of AI spam, right? So we then went over to Bolt, which is doing some really cool stuff. And if you haven't played with Bolt lately, again, I'm a big fan of all of Lindy's tools, Lindy's newsletter. I think that product bundle is really helpful. So, by the way, we now have 4 or 5 different sites that all sort of work. But as we get better in the community, I'll show you how we did it. I'll show you our foibles. And Ken and I will probably share this in a podcast maybe at the end of the week. So take care, everybody. Goodbye.